Hello, everybody. It's Mike Brown with FlowTrack, and we got an exciting day for you in store. And let's go ahead and kick this off and get started. So, we're going to be doing something really cool. We're going to be going over a way that you can connect your system to custom APIs in a way you can actually send data in response to that API using our API output step. So, let's go ahead and get started and get this party started. So I'm just going to go share my screen, but give me a moment while I do that. We got to figure out how to do that. So we'll go ahead and get this started. 1 second. So just setting up the... Here, I'll get me back on the screen. There we go. Technical issues. So I'm going to be going over how we can create a simple form that's going to automatically create an API endpoint for us. And then we're going to be doing something really cool. So we have this step in here that people have been asking about in the Facebook group called the API output step, right? And this is going to allow you to send a response to an API call, which is really cool. So you can actually send whatever you want. Imagine you're receiving a lead from someone else or some notification that something happened. Well, with this step, you can actually plug in a response. Now, this is a very advanced technical thing, right? Anyone that geeks out over any sort of technology or APIs, this is going to be the webinar or live stream for you. You're going to be able to reply with a certain response. Now, it can be JSON, it can be XML, it could just be text, it can be whatever you want. And you can actually plug it in with variables. So we're going to dive through on how to do that right now. And we can go ahead and kick this off and get started. So let's go ahead and do this. We got some people saying on Demio that the video is blurry on Demio. So if you guys, it's too blurry, go ahead and jump on the Facebook group or YouTube. You guys can watch it over there. So just a reminder, if you guys haven't already, subscribe to us on social media. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and soon to be TikTok. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get notifications real time of these live streams. So smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you get notified. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is going to be a really quick, easy demo, right? We can come in here and I'm going to go into the form builder. So let's go into the form builder and we're going to go in and click on database and we're going to go into forms. And inside the form builder, we got a demo lead capture form, right? And this was a lead capture form I used on another video. So really just got name, email, and then this question, do you rent? Yes or no, right? And so we can take this form and we can use this for our example. So all I'm gonna do is I got this lead form up open in this other window, right? And so I can leave that open right here. And so what I did is I added a flow to this form. And I'll go ahead and remove this one, right? We'll delete it and we'll show you how I added it. So you can always hook up a flow to any form that exists. In here, just click this add new flow button and I can select the name of my flow from a list, right? I already created this one, API output. We can create it together and we can show you exactly how this works. So it's hooked up to the form submission event. So now anytime this form is filled out, this API output flow is going to run. So I'm going to open this up again. And this is one step, just one step we put on here called the API output step. You can just drag this over onto your canvas, connect the lines, and your step looks like this. So by default, there's nothing in here, right? I can just type in a response like hello. This is what it's going to reply either when the form is submitted or an API is called. So let's go ahead and do this example right now. So I can say something like thanks for filling out the form. And then I'll put the person's first name, right? So I'll say, thanks for filling out the form, first name, right? And so we'll go ahead and save this. Now this is going to be a super simple example of this. I'm going to show you a more advanced one as soon as we show you just kind of how this works. So now I'm going to fill this out, and I'm going to say this is from Alex Bob, and we'll say Alex at FlowTrack.co. Say, do you rent? Yes. So now when I submit this, it's going to say, thanks for filling out the form, Alex. Right? This was the response to the API call that was made to FlowTrack. Now this form that we just used also uses the same API for FlowTrack, right? And so we can use this to customize the messages on the form. We can use this to customize the response on the API. It really does a lot of things all at once. Now, what can you do with this? All right, well, besides the obvious example where we can customize that text and really personalize it, right? There's other things that we can do. Imagine you were building out like a lead scoring system or a system that tells the user that if you have this contact in your database or not, right? You could be integrating with a third party and you want to tell them yes or no if you have this contact in the system or not, or if you even accepted this lead. Well, you can use in here the conditions, and the conditions are going to control if you display this output or not, right? So we can say something like check when the contact, first name is Alex, right? Just simple example. And then we can say hello, and then we can add another reply, and I'll go ahead and save this. We'll add another response template that will say goodbye for anything else, right? And so you can go ahead and customize this to say anything you want. Now, the common use case for this, besides just customizing the response on the forms, is going to be for businesses that actually work with receiving API data. You could be getting referrals, you could be getting leads, you could be getting some sort of notification from a third-party system, and you need to notify that third-party system the status of what happened in the flow, right? Let's say you're syncing, a different tool that you're using, and you want to see if this contact is in the system or not. Well, you can set a condition for that, and if it is, you can reply 1. If it's not, you can reply 0, or you can even plug in some JSON in here. So for those that are going to geek out over the API, you can go ahead and just put in a spell it right. You got anyway spelling wrong, but you say success equals true, right? And I can plug in, let's say, a contact ID. And I'm just making these names up, right? Since this is an API response, you can really have it respond with whatever you want, right? That's the whole point of this step, is you're customizing how the API responds. So it's going to reply with this format of data. So super powerful feature. If you're looking to work with APIs and you're looking to build your own APIs, right? Before this, if you wanted to build your own API, you would have to create it, and you'd have to develop it and then publish it and host it somewhere. Now your API can be in here and be dynamic, and it can be based on the conditions you have in here on your step. So you have all the different data that you have access to in here. A condition could be if you called someone or not, if there's any tasks in a pipeline for this user or not, and you can use that to control how you reply on the API. So super powerful way to use this step. Let me know if you guys are designing any sort of APIs you want to see. We got someone that asked a question in here. Can you show this response on a web page? So absolutely, we can go ahead and do we did the one with the simple text, which is amazing, but let's go ahead and just do another one with the JSON just so you can see how that looks. So I'm just going to make this a JSON reply, and I'll just name it right here, JSON, reply JSON. And I'm actually going to delete this condition right here. And let's just make it always show this response, reply success true, and just return the contact ID, right? So let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this, publish it, and we're going to fill out this form again. Right, so now instead of saying thank you for filling out the form, Alex, now we can go ahead and refresh this, and I'll put in Joe at FlowTrack.co. And so now we're going to see a response for the contact ID, right? This was the contact ID that was just generated by the system. So super awesome way to do that. You wouldn't ever use this on a form, right? No one's going to be looking at JSON as their success message on a form, but you can use this in an API, right? If you're doing programmatic calls to access your form data, you can use this in an API. So next you're going to ask me, well, how would you post data to the form via API, right? How would we do that? Well, let's go into the database. So in the database, under forms or contacts, you're going to see a little link right here. This was the form I was using, so I'm going to click on this. Most people just use this shareable link, right? You can share that. You can embed it on your website. These are the most two common ways to use this. But for those advanced users that want something more, you have custom API documentation, right? So this automatically created a custom API endpoint, right? This is the custom API endpoint, which is the ID of, it's the identifier that's tied to this form in the system. So you can post data to this endpoint, right? And so this gives you the instructions on how to pass that data. Now this matches how I design my form. So on my form, I have first name, last name, email, and then renter, yes or no, right? And so it's going to tell you all those fields, the type of data it expects, and it gives you the endpoint you can post to. And that's how you build a custom API in FlowTrack that can have a custom response. So super powerful feature, and it really makes it easy to build anything in there with FlowTrack. So I'm going to let you guys dive in and jump in the comments and ask a bunch of questions. And we'll go ahead and get that started. And so I'm doing this video today because someone in the Facebook group was asking about this step in particular. How do we use this? What is this for? So this is how you use it. So drop any questions you have in the comments, and we will be reading these off today. And I'm sorry you guys are having blurry issues on the Demio platform if you guys are watching me there. I'm not sure why it's lower quality over there, but if you guys still have quality issues, just jump on the YouTube stream and you can always watch that in 1080p. That would be great. Johnny says, what you've done with the software is amazing. Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback, and looks like you're having the blurriness too on Demio. So hopefully I'll see you on YouTube. We got Taylor asking a question. Let's say I have 10 tickets available for a seminar, and so I don't want to sell 11 because I won't have room. And well, I have to reimburse an unhappy customer if I sell more than 10. How would I create a flow to limit the amount of a particular product at a seminar in this example to say 10 tickets? So once that 10 are told, there can be no more sold. So that's a great question. And so we don't have quantity in the billing system yet for products, right? So there is no quantity or inventory management, you would say. So anything you tried to do would really just be a workaround. And there are some workarounds you can think of, or I can think of. You know, you could give away maybe a promo code to buy the ticket and they get a discount on the ticket, right? And that promo code is limited to 10 uses. Could be something like that. But that's not a perfect situation. Ideally, you want kind of like an inventory management system. And we have had that on the roadmap too. So definitely go on there on roadmap.flowtrack.co, and you guys can go ahead and upvote that. And that's going to touch things we should work on and really help us prioritize that. But I think that's the feature you're waiting on. So, all right, connections being restored again. All right. We got Rick asking, how do you create a base package for your white label users and end users? So that's a great question, Rick. And so let's dive into that screen. And I'll show you how to do that. So this is going to be something that is for Black Label customers and Black Label only. But inside the package builder, you can actually create your own packages that are available to resell from your sub-users. So the idea is you're Black Label and you say, okay, I want to create a package where my users can resell the unlimited plan, right? And so that allows you to have that 2 levels in there. So you can have your sub account reselling a sub account, And that's what you can do with the resell option. And that's what the base package is, right? If I'm creating my new package, Mike's custom package, well, this is based on white label SaaS, or it's based on unlimited, right? And so you can come in here, you can give it a name, you can call it Mike's Unlimited Package. If I can spell right, as usual, Mike's Unlimited Package. And all you got to do is check this button that says resell, right? This is going to make it a resell package. Then your sub accounts can see this package in the base package dropdown, right? So that means they can create packages based on your own and customize those. So great question. That's how you do that. You have a lot of flexibility in here in the package builder to control literally anything you want. Not only can you create resellable packages, but you also have the option to make this package require a plan change. So you can only switch to the package. You can't add it on as an additional package. So to give you an example of that, you might have a gold and a silver package. And if you switch from silver to gold, it cancels the old one and initiates the new one. Now, when you wouldn't want to use plan change is if it's an upsell or an add-on. Upsells or add-ons are things that you can have additional on top of your service. So you might have like a done-for-you service, right, or a consulting service. Well, you can just check the box. This is an upsell or add-on, so it doesn't affect the existing package the customer already has. It just creates a second subscription for them in the system. So that's going to be how you do that. So there you go, Rick. And let's see, Nobi's saying on Demio, it's been very blurry. Yep, I don't know what's going on with Demio. So you want the link to the YouTube, so you can go to YouTube and search for us at FlowTrack Me. That's our name on there. So go find the link. It should be under the live tab. You should see us streaming there live right now if you want to jump from Demio to YouTube. We got Steve Howie asking, how do you push or pull to keep data sources in sync? So that's a great question. And if you're dealing with that sort of push and pull with the API, I actually got another hidden feature for you guys you may not have seen. So if you go into tracks, this is super cool. So if you go into tracks, and I'm going to go to, let's say, this particular track. This was my lead capture form. So I can go to my lead capture form. I can click on edit track. And you're going to see some really cool things in here you may not have seen. So you got this little tab over here that says API permissions, right? So by default, your forms, as they should be, are all just create only permissions. So your forms can only put data into FlowTrack, but you can create a new track and you can turn on read, create, delete, right? So your APIs can both pull data from the system or push data to the system. Now, if you're going to use that feature, you want to make sure to use this secret access key. So you have two keys to access the API, not just the public key. So your data is nice and secure. And I would also recommend just creating a new track, right? You can go ahead and just click on the add track button. And that way you can have a different track, different API separate from your form input. So let me know if you guys have any questions on that, but super cool, hidden menu in there you guys can use for that. You also got some other options in here in case you haven't seen. A lot of people actually don't see this page, right? So they're like, what is tracks? How do I use that? Well, you can use this for like validation of the forms or your API submissions. You can reject duplicate phone numbers, reject duplicate leads. You can keep track of cost. If there's a certain cost per API call, cost per contact created, you can key that in here and you can see that on the dashboard. But I think it's that API permissions is going to be exactly what you're looking for. So great question, Steve. Let's see. Johnny was saying you could increment a data point and limit to 10. Yeah, you could do something like that too for the inventory example. You could even get down to a node step if you wanted to, but that would be like overkill for inventory, but it is possible, right? So with custom code, anything is possible. And so let me dive into some of the Facebook comments over here too. So we got Ricky asked a question, how do you create a base package? We just went over that. Another person, Facebook user, is saying, any chance you want to build how we can use OpenAI ChatGPT integrated with one of the forms? So that is a great question, and Chat GPT is really amazing. We could tell it to write FlowTrack and it'll probably start coding out something, right? It's pretty cool technology. Definitely something that we're looking at. Chat GPT, they actually have a lot of cool technologies at OpenAI, so I'm really excited to see what they keep doing. I think that's going to replace Google someday, so I think that's awesome. So great question, and no plans on anything yet, but something that we're definitely thinking about. But if you have any ideas, post them on the roadmap. That'll help. We got Danny saying, when you go down via BP, I don't know what you mean by BP, Danny, if you want to specify. So yeah, I don't understand the question, but if you can rephrase that another way, happy to answer. All right, well, that looks like all of the questions for today. This is going to be a quick one. I'll give you guys another minute. You can drop any more questions that you have. Oh, blueprints. Great question. So, great. So Danny's question was, when you send down a blueprint with the resell package, you have to go to that account and disable resell or instruct them to uncheck the resell. Yep, you can do that in there. And that's a great idea. Maybe an option to disable resell on there for them. The best way to do that is actually just copy the non-resell package you want, and then include that in the blueprint. And so you can push down one or both to them. So great question. We got another person saying, can you review the first step to starting the API? Yeah, let's do that. So first step to starting an API is we're going to go to the form builder. Right? All we got to do is come in and create a form, and we're going to put in, I don't know, first name and email, right? I save this. I'll say my new API. That's probably an important step to show you guys. I got my new API. Okay, now we're done. We got a new API, right? That's all you got to do. Now you click on the integration instructions, go to API integration. Now we got a new API endpoint. I can come in here, open this up in a new tab, and we got our API documentation generated for us, which is 2 fields, first name and email. So that's how easy it is to generate your own custom APIs. Now, the other thing I want to mention in here, just so you know, because you're not always working with fields that have, that are always like based on a contact, first name, email. You might have something like completely custom. So I can come in here under basic, and let's just put in a text field. And this one can be favorite color. So I'll just type in a label. The label is what shows to the user if they're using the form. That's like that user-friendly name you see over here on the right. And then on the, the field tab, you're going to see property name. This is going to be what's visible in the API docs, right? So I could call this fave as in favorite color. I can give it a different name. I'll click save, and I'll save the form. And now I got that new custom field on my API. So let me show you what that looks like now. So I'm going to go back into my new API. I'm going to pull up the API integration documentation. I'm going to go down to right here where it says create, and it didn't update, so it could be cached. Oh, there we go. A little bit of a delay. There you see you got a favorite color. So that's how easy it is to add custom fields in there. It doesn't have to be a field that's built into the system. It can be anything that you want. And in fact, any data type that you want as well. So great question. So we got, let's see, we got some more questions in here. Ricky's asking about the custom navigation tabs. So I don't think I understand your question completely, but happy to connect with you after on that. You're asking about the variables and custom navigation. Let's see. Is there a way to make a form display differently based on tags or count of a particular tag? So tell me what you mean by display differently. You mean like change the color of it, display some different fields, hide and show different questions? I assume it's hide and show different questions. That's something you can do in there. We can go over that. So I'll just go over that one. So going back into the form designer, we got some really cool options in here. So let's say I can have a select box, which will be a drop down, and we'll say, do you want to tell us your favorite color? Right, and we're going to ask this person a question, and we're going to say yes or no. So we'll say yes, and then we'll say no. Right, and we'll call this the field, it's just called field select, so that's fine. Now we got this question, do you want to tell us your favorite color, yes or no? Well, we can make this text box on the form now conditional, right? So we're going to say this component should display true when the form component, you want to tell us your favorite color, has the value yes, right? So we're going to show this field when this answer is yes. So great, that's going to show the field. That means we want to make it hidden by default. So I'm just going to come in here and check the hidden box. And so now we have the condition. It's hidden by default. If they answer yes, then we'll show this question. So I can save this, show you what that looks like. And we'll come in here and go back to the form. And we can see what that looks like. So I'm going to copy this link. And we'll go ahead and paste it in over here. Great. So now you see you don't see that fourth field on the form. And if you click yes, right now it's going to pop out that additional question. I go to no, it's going to hide it. So that's how you can do conditional questions on your form, to hide and show based on different answers. So great question. Is there any way to merge fields in the text on a form so the customer feels like the form is custom to them? This will add and update fields to the contact database. I assume by merge fields, you mean like variables like hi, first name when they visit the form. We don't have that yet, but you can do that just through some like JavaScript on the site. I've seen people actually passing that in the URL as like a query string parameter. We want to build that actually in the form builder. So it's just drag and drop, right? You don't need to do any like JavaScript stuff. So what we want to do is just make it like a variable like this, just like you drag a field, right? You could drag in a first name or even use that here in the little text editor. So you can have some variables in there as well. So we're going to go ahead and get that in there. It's one of those things that's in the pipeline. So great question. So let's go back in here and see if there's any more questions. Let's see. It looks like there's no more questions. Is there a way to enter a default email or phone number in a form? If not, can it be added? Absolutely, you could. You can definitely do that. So if you want to put in, let's say, anything default, you can take any of these fields, right? And you have this placeholder text, right? So I can say Mike. That can be the placeholder text. You can do something like that. I'm pretty sure the placeholder does the, oh no, placeholder is what you see that's grayed out behind the input. So we can say something like, please enter a value, right? And then when you click on it, you can just type over it. Then you have the default value in here. So favorite color could be defaulted to blue, right? So you can go ahead and save that form. And now you have a default value, and that works on any field in here. You can do it that way. So we'll try this again. Opening up my form. See, now it says favorite color blue. If I remove the default value, it says please enter a value. That's exactly what I typed in. So great question. There's lots of cool little options in the form builder. You know, you can literally control just about anything you can think of. There's like prefixes and suffixes on the value. So I can put in like color, right? And it puts this little box in front of it. There's all sorts of cool little options in here you can play and geek out with. Pretty powerful form builder. So I appreciate you guys joining me today. That pretty much wraps it up for today. And I will see you guys next Monday when we got our lunch and earn at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Friday and a great weekend. So take care. Bye.